Hello, this is SMS, and today I'll be solving question number 9 of June 2023 paper 1R. This question is from the chapter Binomial Expansion, and the question begins by saying that expand 1 plus 2x to the power negative 1 by 3 in ascending powers of x up to and including the term in x cubed, expressing each coefficient as a fraction in its lowest term. So here we have been given an expression which is 1 plus 2x to the power negative 1 by 3. If you look at it, this expression is in the form of a plus bx to the power d, where a is equals to 1, b is equals to 2, and d is equals to negative 1 by 3. And when our expression will be in the form of a plus bx to the power d, and when a would be equals to 1, the expression would be expanded in this way. So a plus bx to the power d will be expanded in this way. So it would be, at first I will write the first term would be 1 plus bracket d multiplied by bx plus d multiplied by d minus 1, where d is the indices here, which is this, and b is this, which is 2. So d minus 1 divided by 2 factorial, write this, or you can write it as 2 multiplied by 1. So 2 multiplied by 1 multiplied by bx to the power 2 plus d multiplied by d minus 1 multiplied by d minus 2 divided by, this time it will be 3 factorial, or 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1 multiplied by bx cube, and this, the bracket close here. So a good way to remember this expansion formula is, the way I do is that at first, the first term, then d multiplied by bx, d is this and b is this, we just multiply it, and then you have, in the numerator, you have a d multiplied by d minus 1, so there are like two things here in the numerator. So the denominator will have 2 factorial, or which is equivalent to 2 multiplied by 1. Then you will keep on decreasing the d. D was here, just the d, then you decrease it with minus 1 here, and then you decrease the d even more. It's d minus 2 now. So is now the numerator has 3 times, like d is here, d is here, d is here. So there are 3 d's here. So the denominator will have 3 factorial, or you can write it as 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1. I write it in this way, and here the bx, it was bx to the power 1, then it would be bx to the power 2, then bx to the power 3. So it will keep on increasing constantly. So yeah, and here as well we have bx, but here is bx to the power 0, which is equivalent to 1. So that's why we are not writing it, we're just writing 1 here. So next, with the given expression here, if I want to expand that, so this would be, at first I will be writing 1 plus d. D is, we know, is negative 1 by 3. So I'll just write negative 1 by 3 bracket negative 1 by 3 multiplied by bx. So bx here, b is 2 and x would be just x. So 2x plus d. D is negative 1 by 3 multiplied by negative 1 by 3 minus 1 divided by the 2 factorial, which is 2 multiplied by 1 multiplied by bx square. So b here is 2, so that will be 2x square, 2x whole square, sorry, plus, if I write it in the next line, then this would be d multiplied by d minus 1 multiplied by d minus 2. So d here is negative 1 by 3. So I'll just write it negative 1 by 3 multiplied by negative 1 by 3 minus 1 multiplied by negative 1 by 3 minus 2 divided by 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1. So 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1 multiplied by bx whole cube. So bx whole cube. So bx whole cube is b is 2x whole cube. So that will be this. So square brackets and curly brackets. Now we have written the expansion. Now when we expand this, so 1 plus 2x to the power negative 1 by 3, this would be just 1 plus bracket here. If I multiply negative 1 by 3 with 2x, then this would be negative 2 by 3x. Now next, if I multiply negative 1 by 3 multiplied by negative 1 by 3 minus 1 divided by 2 multiplied by 4x square, which is like 4x square, which I did was 2x whole square. So this would be, if you put that in your calculator, then this will be 8 by 9 x square. Similarly, if you put all this in your calculator, which is negative 1 by 3 multiplied by negative 1 by 3, negative 1 multiplied by negative 1 by 3 minus 2 divided by 6, 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1 is 6, multiplied by 2x whole cube, which is 8x cubed. So you will get a value of negative 112 divided by 81x cubed. Okay, so this will be the value for, this will be the expansion for part A. And there is another thing that was written in the question, expressing each coefficient as a fraction in its lowest term. What they mean by that is that when you have a fraction like 4 by 2, this is a fraction, but this is not in its lowest term, as the numerator and the denominator are divisible. So we need a fraction where the numerator and the denominator are not divisible, like 1 by 2, or in our case, if you look at it, each of this fraction we have, this is 1 by 1 here, each of this fraction is not divisible to each other. The numerator and the denominator are not divisible, so you can write it in, you can say that the fractions are in their lowest terms. So this is the answer for part A. Now for part B of this question, they have asked us to find the range of values of x for which the expansion is valid. So for this type of question, when you are asked to find the range of values of x for this given expression, you first have to look at the expression itself, whether it is in x or x squared. So if the expression, for example, if the expression is in the form of a plus bx to the power d, you have to look whether it's in x or x squared. If it's just x, means x to the power 1, then the range would be written in this form. So you write this. So the range would be negative a by b would be less than x less than a by b. So x is greater than negative a by b, but less than a by b. And if you have the expression which is in x squared, so the range would be, just you add a square root in front of the a by b's, so it's negative root over a by b is less than x less than root over a by b. Okay, But since our question, we have like the expression which is 1 plus 2x to the power negative 1 by 3. So the range here would be a is 1, b is 2, d is negative 1 by 3. So we'll just write it in this way. So just negative a by b. So a is 1 by 2 less than x less than a by b. So a is 1 by 2. Okay. So this is answer for part B of the question. Now for part C, we have been given fx. Fx is equals to 2 plus kx divided by 1 plus 2x to the power 1 by 3. Obtain an expansion of fx in ascending powers of x up to and including the term in x cube. So we have to expand till we get x cube. Give your coefficients in terms of k where appropriate. So we have been given for part C, we have been given fx is equals to, I think, 2 plus kx squared divided by 1 plus 2x divided by 1 by 3. So which is 2 plus kx squared divided by, 1 plus 2x to the power 1 by 3. So here we are asked to expand. So the first thing that you do for this type of question is that you write this in terms of like you break this fraction and then you bring the denominator to the numerator. The denominator here is 1 plus 2x to the power 1 by 3. If you bring that to the numerator, then everything will be same. So 2 plus kx squared multiplied by, when you bring the new denominator to the numerator, it becomes multiplied. So 1 plus 2x to the power, the power will change, the polarity of the power will change. Here is positive 1 by 3, so this will become negative 1 by 3. Okay, so now fx is equals to 2 plus kx squared. And if you look at this expression, this is the same expression that you had for, that you expanded for part A. So you expanded and you got this. So I can just substitute 1 plus 2x to the power negative 1 by 3 with 1 minus 2 by 3 x plus 8 by 9 x squared minus 112 by 81 x cubed. Okay, so for this now, if I start expanding, so I'll first multiply 2 with this expression and then kx with this expression. So 2 multiplied by 1 would be just 1. Sorry, would be just 2. Then 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by negative 2 by 3x would be negative 4 by 3x. Then 2 multiplied by 8 by 9x squared would be positive 16 by 9x squared. And then we will have 2 multiplied by negative 112 by 81 x cubed. So this will be negative 224 by 81 x cubed. So we have multiplied 2 with the expression here. Now I have to multiply kx with this expression. So at first I will write positive brackets kx squared multiplied by 1 is just kx squared, and kx squared multiplied by negative 2 by 3x would be negative 2 by 3k, and kx square and x to the power 1. So when you have x square multiplied by x to the power 1, then the powers will add. So this will be x to the power 3. So the powers will be added. So 2 here, 1 here, right? So 2 plus 1 is 3. So this would be kx to the power 3. So we'll expand up to this because we are asked to expand till we get x cubed, as the question mentioned here. Now, as I expand this, I'm sorry for that. So now let me bring the coefficients together. So this would be just be 2 minus 4 by 3x plus 16 by 9x squared. And here we had like from this side we had kx squared, so plus kx squared, and here we had negative 2 to 4 by 81x cubed, and here we had negative 2 by 3 4x cubed. Okay. Now the question mentioned that give your coefficients in terms of x where appropriate. So coefficient means coefficient is when you multiply a constant with like a constant with a variable. A variable is like x or y. When you multiply a constant like 2, 3, 4 or 4 by 3, negative 4 by 3 or positive 16 by 9, then the constant part is called the coefficient. So the coefficient of x is, for example, negative 4 by 3. The coefficient of x squared is positive 16 by 9. The coefficient of x cubed here, for example, is negative 2 to 4 by 81. Here I mean, not the expression. The coefficient of x cubed is different, but if I just say, for example, the coefficient of x is negative 4 by 3. So the coefficient is actually the constant that is getting multiplied with the variable, for example, x here, or x squared here, x squared here. So in terms of coefficients, so this is, for example, the coefficient of 2, and 2 is actually the coefficient of x to the power 0, which is 1. So we just don't write that here. So this is 2 multiplied by 4 by 3, negative 4 by 3, which is the coefficient of x, plus the coefficient of x squared, which is, we know, 16 by 9, plus k, plus x cubed, and whose coefficient is negative 2 to 4 by 81 plus, sorry, negative 2 by 3k. So 2 by 3k is this part, negative 2 by 3k. So if I have given the answer in the coefficients in terms of k, as they have asked, and there is the answer for part C. Now for part D here, if I go up again to the question, they have said that the coefficient of x cubed in the series expansion is negative 8 by 3. Find the exact value of k. So they have said that the coefficient of x cubed is negative 8 by 3. And for our part, we got the coefficient of x cubed to be negative 2 to 4 by 81, negative 2 by 3k. So we can equate that. then given the coefficient of x cube is negative 4 by 3, I think, but negative 4 by, so negative 8 by 3 is negative 8 by 3, and we got the coefficient of x cube to be negative 224 by t1 negative subtracted by negative 2 by 4 2 by 3k. So we can equate this because this would be the same, right? So we can equate, we equating the coefficients of x cube. So this would be negative 224 by t1 negative 2 by 3k is equivalent to negative 8 by 3, right? Now, if I take the negative 2 by 3k to this side and bring the negative 8 by 3 to the left hand side, then this would be just negative 2 to 4 by t1 plus 8 by 3 is equivalent to 2 by 3k. Okay, now if you put this in your calculator, then you will get a value of negative 81 by negative 8 by 81 is equivalent to 2 by 3k. Now could just cross multiply this. Cross multiply means, or you can just say multiply both sides with 3 by 2k. So if I multiply both sides with 3 by 2k, then this would be 8 by 81 multiplied by 3 by 2 and 2 by 3k multiplied by 3 by 2. Okay, so this would become k is equivalent to, if I work with the left hand side, then we'll get negative 4 by 27, and the right hand side it will become k as I've written. So k would be negative 4 by 27. Now for part E of this question, this is integration. So integration with limits 0.1, 0.2 of fx. Fx was given in part C to be this. But now we know the value of k, we can just substitute it, and we expanded fx here in part C. So we have to give the answer to 4 decimal places by integrating fx. So let's do that. So for part E now, we will integrate 0.1 the lower limit and 0.2 the upper limit and fx dx. So for in part C, fx we got, after expansion, we got fx to be this. But here you see we have k here. We did not know at that time what k was, but after solving part D, we got k to be negative 4 by 27, right? So we can just substitute fx in that. So fx would be, fx, if I substitute this, so fx we got to be 2 minus 4 by 3x plus X square was 61, wait, 16 by 9 plus k. So it's 16 by 9 plus k. So k we got was 4 by 27. I am using, just to confirm if anyone is confused, I'm using this expansion. I'm substituting k with negative 4 by 27 here. And so x cube is negative 224 by 81 and negative, wait, so plus x cube is negative 224 by 81 negative 2 by 3, and k is negative 4 by 27. Sorry, this would be this, and x cube I have written. So now fx would be 2 minus 4 by 3x, plus if you put 16 by 9 minus 4 by 27 in your calculator, then you will get 44 by 27. So 44 by 27, this would be x squared, and negative 2 to 4 by 81, and negative 2 by 3, negative 4 by 27. Then you will get a value of negative 8 by 3 x cubed. Okay, that is fx. So now if I put this here, 0.1 and 0.2 fx, so fx is 0.1, 0.2, and then this is 2 minus 4 by 3x plus 44 by 27 x squared negative 8 by 3x cubed. And since this is in terms of x, so this would be dx here. So integration when a term is in this form, so for example integration of a x to the power n would be a would remain the same, x n plus 1 divided by, you write the same thing that is in the power, which is n plus 1. Okay, so we'll use this technique here in this question. So for for integrating 2, at first I will integrate 2. So 2 here is just a is equals to 2. So a is equals to 2 and x to the power n. So what is x? You see there is no x here. But if you look closely here, when you integrate, for example, if I write this with this color, I think, so integrating of 2 dx here, you are actually integrating 2 x to the power 0, because x to the power 0 is 1, so that's why we don't write it. So that is, if you integrate, so a is 2, so a would remain the same, and x to the power 0 here, n is 0 here, so that will become this color, so 0 plus 1 and divided by 0 plus 1, which is just 1. So this is just 2x. So integration of 2 is just 2x. So I can just remove this part here. This is to explain. So integration of 2 is just 2x. Those who know that, they can just directly write 2x. So this would be 2x. Plus we have negative 4 by 3x, so a is negative 4 by 3, so a I am writing here as negative 4 by 3. We had x to the power n, so x to the power n was x to the power 1 when you have nothing in the power, which means there is 1. So this would be x to the power n plus 1. So 1 plus 1. So this would become 1 plus 1, which is 2. So x to the power 2. Let's expand it. Okay, so let's write this again. So this is 4 by 3 x to the power 1 plus 1, which is 2. And I have mentioned that whatever change you are bringing in the power, you have to also do that in the denominator of the fraction. So we brought the 2 here, so we have to write a 2 here as well, or n plus 1, 1 plus 1, which is 2. Similarly, the same thing I will do for 44 by 27 multiplied by x squared. So 44 by 27 is my a here. A here is 44 by 27. That will remain the same. So plus 44 by 27. And now I'll write the x. X is n. X to the power n. So x to the power n here is x squared. So n is just 2 here. So now we have to increase the n with plus 1, so it's 2 plus 1, which is 3, and I have to do multiply 3 in the denominator with whatever there was in the denominator. And lastly we have negative 8 by 3 x cubed. So negative 8 by 3 x cubed, a is negative 8 by 3, and x we have is here, so let me just write negative 8 by 3 x, and now the cube, the 3 in the power to the power 3 will increase to 3 plus 1, which is 4. So this will become 4, and you have to multiply the denominator with whatever you have increased in with whatever the new power is in the numerator, so which was 4. So I'll write just 4 there. So now you write down the roots here, so which is, sorry, the limits here, so 0.2 and 0.1. So you can just right now work this thing out. You can this is the integration of this fx was this. Now we can work with the limits. So at first we'll work with the upper limit, which is 0.2, and then we'll work with the lower limit. So working with the limit means that here the variables that we had, x square, x cube, x to the power 4, we will be substituting the x at first with the upper limit and then with the lower limit. So for doing that, I'll need some space. So I'll start here. So 2 multiply, at first I will work with the upper limit. So upper limit is 0.2, so 0.2, substituting x with 0.2 minus 4 by 6, 4 by 6, or we can say 2 by 3. So 2 by 3, you can just cut like 2 and 4 here. So 2 2 are 4, so 2 by 3, and substituting x with 0.2, so it's 0.2 square plus 44 divided by 27 multiplied by 3 is 81, so 44 by 81 multiplied by 0.2 whole cube, negative 8 by 3 multiplied by 4, so this can be written as 2 by 3, negative 2 by 3, x to the power 4, x would be 0.2 to the power 4. Now we will work with the lower limit. Since I don't have space, I'm going to the next line. So this will be 0.1, 2 multiplied by 0.1, negative 2 by 3, 0.1 square plus 44 by 81, 0.1 cubed, negative 2 by 3, 0.1 to the power 4. brackets close. So now, if you put all this in your calculator, at first you put this in your calculator, then you put the negative sign. When you work, at first you work with the limit, substitute this into x's, and then you put the negative sign, and then you work with the lower limit. Then you put this in your calculator, and you put the negative sign, and then put this in your calculator. You will get a value of 0.1828, and I think they have access to put that in 4 decimal places, most probably. Yes, to 4 dp. Give your answer to 4 dp. So to 4 dp, this would be this. So 4 dp. So thank you for watching this video. If you have any problem or queries, just leave it in the comment section. Thank you.